welcome to episode 4 of Knit Mania. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is the first time that you've come, welcome. And if you have been loyal for all 4 episodes, thanks so much. This is going to be a little different, probably a little shorter. After looking at my first 3 episodes, it really hit home to me that as much as I love the knitting part of it, that I really needed to take some time regarding sound, lighting, editing, all of those things that I really know nothing about. And I think that's actually quite evident in the first 3 episodes, and I'm hoping for that to become less and less of an issue going forward. So hopefully the lighting is a little bit better today. I think it is. And I know that the background is a little busy, but hey, it's yarn. So I decided that we could deal with that today. I don't have as much to talk about this week, so I thought it would be good for it to be shorter and then for me to take that time to edit more. And again, any comments that you want to share, please be kind, but I would love to hear. So I only have one finished object, and if you have watched any episodes, you probably know what that's going to be. And yes, it's a Hexy Puff. So this Hexy Puff is eventually one day going to get joined with all its little brothers and sisters into a quilt or blanket. It's called the Beekeeper's Quilt, and it's by Tiny Owl Knits. And it's a small blanket with an enormous amount of work. I think that she calls, I think the finished blanket that she did is like 4 by 6 in feet. And I think she used like 325 of these. So obviously a long-term project. This colorway is definitely not in my normal something that I would buy. But I really do want to use all of the minis that I get, and I want to enjoy them. So it's an orange, which is definitely not in a color palette that I typically ever do unless it's Halloween. It is, I don't know if you can tell, but it does definitely have a tonal quality, which I enjoy. And I think what I'm going to do, something that she did, and I've seen pictures of, like if you go to Ravelry and you go to a specific pattern, you can see what other people have done. That's one really fun way to decide if you want to do a project. And what a lot of people have done on the plain Hexy Puffs is do a little bit of embroidery. And so just to make it a longer term project than it already was. So let's go from like 7 years to 10 for sure. Make it a decade blanket. I do think I want to do some embroidery on here. I'm thinking flowers. So I was, I kind of had aspirations of trying to do that to show you, but I decided, I don't have floss. I have done embroidery in the past, so I could do some simple embroidery, but I don't want to do that right now. I want to wait till I have a few and then feel inspired to do something different and then just tackle that project. So for right now, it's just going to be a cute little tonal orange puff, and I think it will morph into something even cuter down the line. But that's it for finished objects. The reason why, though, I actually did a lot of knitting this week. A lot, like even more than normal, I would say. But I'm really trying to be dedicated to getting this sweater done because I've never finished a sweater. And so I don't want that to be what I have to say anymore. So, sorry, I'm dropping things all over the place. This is the back of my sweater, and it's almost done. And I'm pretty excited about that. I like the drape, and I like the way it's looking. So you can see that I started the armhole shaping now. And so it's going to be seamed, which I've never done. And I have to decide, there is a fabulous lady at my local yarn store hands-on knitting, that does finishing for you if you want. Isn't that dangerous? There's somebody that will do that for you, so you always have that option. So she'll seam, she'll block, she'll do pretty much any of the stuff that a lot of people don't want to do. Oh, she'll do ends. So part of me wants to do that, but then part of me wants to seam it so I can say I did the whole thing. I do feel like I would kind of feel like I hadn't done the whole thing because Hi, so you can probably tell that the lighting is different. It was late morning when I started podcasting and thought I got it all wrapped up and went to edit, and for whatever reason, I have no idea, it froze at 5 minutes in. So, starting again. So we were talking about my cardigan and the back of it. So this is the Trendsetter. I always have to look at it because it's the longest name that anybody could ever make. It goes across the whole page. It's the E-Streaker Twisted Basket Bordered Classic Pocketed Cardigan. Say that 10 times. And it's by, so this pattern is by Trendsetter, which is the yarn. And the colorway is like Caribbean, I believe. And it is 50% soy and 50% cotton. And so I am going to be continuing on that. I should definitely, so it said, I've done all the decreases on the arm, but then it says to knit 8 inches. So I'm assuming that it's like 8 inches from here to make the armhole 8 inches. So I'm at about 2.5 right now. So I still do have quite a bit of knitting to do on that, but I definitely should, or I plan on being done with that by next week. So obviously it won't be a finished object, but it will be a big piece of the sweater. So the sweater is that back piece, and then it's got 2 front pieces and then 2 sleeves. So I still have quite a ways to go. And I am housing that in this bag by Joy in the Stitches, Trisha. I love, love, love this bag. I've shown it before, but this bag and I have been on quite a journey. The zipper wasn't finished. It was just out. And she did that on purpose. I guess she does that with some of her bags so that you can stuff them fuller for really big projects. But I didn't notice when I bought it. And I just did not like the look of it. And she was kind enough to let me send it back to her. And she finished it beautifully. And so now it is officially in my top 3 of favorite bags. I mean, how cute is that pattern? And I love how colorful it is. So that's where the cardigan, the streaker cardigan, is living. And the only other thing I worked on, I'm not even going to bring out the socks because I literally worked on them for maybe 15, 20 minutes this week. But I did work on my Noro blanket. So I love Noro. I don't know if you can see up here, there's like 2 whole shelves of Noro yarn. Move it. Oh yeah, I don't even know how to move the thing. So anyway, that's probably gonna have to be cut. But anyway, I have been wanting to do a blanket for about a year from Noro yarn, and so I finally bought it at the beginning of the year and I started. And so the one that I'm doing is called Color Waves, and that's what it looks like. Isn't it gorgeous? So how you do it is you make 14 strips and then you seam them together. And so I have 1 strip done. It's 53 inches long, which I found to be funnily like why 53? But since it's Japanese, it's probably was originally in centimeters and made more sense. So that's that colorway. And there's like, you do 2 of each colorway. So there's 7 separate colorways. And so then this is the colorway that I'm working on now, which couldn't be more different, right? So when you're putting them together, still beautiful. And these 2 aren't going to be right next to each other, but I'm really enjoying. This is kind of my mindless knitting. It's not completely mindless because you have to do like a box pattern, but it's pretty close. And so I just keep this up next to my bed, and when I'm just really in the mood to do something fairly mindless, or I will have to say sometimes my hand starts hurting. It seems to be, especially when I'm doing socks, especially like the heel gusset area, my tension in my hands gets too tight, evidently, and so they'll get sore. So that's the only project I have that's on wooden needles. They're on Likes. I don't know if that's how you pronounce them, but they're wonderful needles. They were my first set, fancy set that I got, and it's an interchangeable set, and they're big, you know, so when my hands are tired of using a size 1, sometimes I'll switch over to that. So that's really all I've been working on, pretty much just the sweater. As far as things that I got in the mail or received or bought, no yarn this week, which is surprising. I did buy 1 book, which is kind of a funny book. So one of them was, I think like one of them was a knitter and one of them was a crocheter. And so the one that was a knitter was like, if I can teach the other person how to knit, then we can like write a book. And like, if we can teach him, we can teach anybody, I guess is the premise. But I really like it because it's 2 guys writing primarily male patterns. And I've mentioned this before when I was making my husband's socks. He's a giant. I call him my Ent. Some of you will know where that reference is from. Comment below if you do. And so my Ent has a size 14 shoe, and he also has really long calves. And in the past few years, he's had a problem with with his feet always being cold. So I really, really want, this has all kinds of charts to be able to figure out how to measure a big man's foot to get that, you know, perfect fit. And that's what I really want. I want the recipe for the perfect fit for the hubby, so I can make him at least 1 pair of socks a year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do more than that for this size, because he also likes long socks. I mean, not knee length, but definitely like long calf socks. Right now, because his feet are always cold, he is wearing 100% merino wool from Bombas, but they are expensive, and they do, because they're 100% wool, I am noticing that the wear and tear on them is pretty dramatic pretty quickly. They start pilling pretty quick. So that is a lot of motivation for me to figure out what kind of sock, like yarn, is good for him, and then the recipe for the perfect size, and really make socks. Because he has to wear socks all year round for work. So I only wear socks, you know, maybe 5-6 months out of the year, but he wears them all year round. So it does make sense to make more for him. We'll see if that happens. I kind of doubt it, but maybe. There's a lot of fun patterns in there, and he's really adventurous with his socks, so that's fun. Like, I can do wild colors, I can do crazy patterns, I can do whatever, and if they're comfortable, he'll love them. Actually, it's kind of almost like the more wild they are, probably the more he'll love them, now that I'm saying that. And then the other thing that I bought, which has nothing to do with knitting, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, because it will probably go in my knitting room, which is this room, which is not a knitting room at all right now, other than having a lot of yarn. But my husband is obsessed with Mandalorian, and so we've started going to like the local comic book store. Yes, I know, we're a little old for that, but whatever. And he was buying all of the pop figures for Mandalorian, and finally, you know, like the fourth time he dragged me in there, I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna get some pops too. What kind of pops am I gonna get? So my first pop is Freddie Mercury. I love Freddie Mercury so much, just so much. So people that know me well know that Queen is probably my all-time favorite band, and that Freddie Mercury is just, you know, his voice just always makes me happy. And I have listened to a lot of them. And then the other one, completely different, not music related, Dobby. Oh, that glare's terrible. I love Dobby. So those are my two. I have no idea if I'm going to go with a theme or if I'm just going to randomly look for pops when I'm dragged to the comic book store and just buy ones that give me joy. And nothing wrong with that, right? As far as what was going on this past week, it was, of course, Mother's Day. This was probably my favorite Mother's Day, or right up there, if not my favorite. Oh, it's hot in here. I'm like starting to get sweaty. I'm glowing. Anyway, so my mother-in-law and my mom came, you know, with the husbands and all of that. My two boys were here. They're 19-year-old twins, and of course my husband. And my one of my boys' girlfriends were here. Hi, Glory. And so it was just really special because obviously last year we missed all of the holidays. And so this is like the first time that all of us had been together since pre-pandemic. And Mother's Day is a difficult day for our family, like it is for many. I had a brother who died by suicide about 4 years ago. And so Mother's Day has become very complicated. And so my mom and I had not spent Mother's Day together since his passing. And so we did, and it was good. So that really just filled my heart in lots of different ways. And this is so crazy. I have a Basset Hound. I'll see if I can put a picture in, if I can figure out how to do that, who we are crazy about. She is 11 months old now. So we got her when she was like 2.5 months old, and like my father-in-law had never met her. So that was exciting that they got to meet. Her name is Delilah Sue, and she's fabulous and beautiful. And so that was like from 1 o'clock to, I don't know, 3:30 or 4. And then after that, we got to meet up with Shannon's dad and my other mother-in-law. And we went to Hangar 24, which is a local brewery. And it's just a great space. It's really chill. They have all kinds of outside seating in 2 different areas. You know, they have live music sometimes, and they kind of like with an oldies folk kind of vibe on this particular Sunday. And, you know, it's really conducive to knitting. So, you know, and my mother-in-law Janice knits as well. So it's really fun because we'll meet up together, and the guys talk Dodgers and camping and fly fishing, and we talk knitting, pretty much knitting, and you know, family and all of that. But it's really fun. We're even doing a knit along that I mentioned last week, the shawl. She's doing it as well. She's a more advanced knitter than me, and she's actually on track with it. but it's fun to be able to have that in common. So that was a fantastic Mother's Day. I was totally full and happy and content. And then my husband sprung on me the fact that he had ordered me a Vitamix 750. What? I mean, he blew my mind. So I have been wanting that machine for over a decade. I am not exaggerating, over a decade. And I hadn't gotten a Vitamix before because I was not content with like the normal series or the Costco one that came out. No, I wanted the professional one that did all the things. And so, you know, for whatever reason, he decided to bust it out on Mother's Day of all things, like not Christmas, not my birthday, but Mother's Day. But I'm not complaining, right? What am I going to complain about? So I got it yesterday, which was Tuesday. He actually, like, he had decided he was going to get it for me, but he was afraid to order it because he wanted to make sure that he had the exact right model, which was cute. And so we ordered it together on Mother's Day in the evening, and so it came Tuesday, which was yesterday. And I was planning on making something right away, but my son Tanner had borrowed my car, so I had no way to get to the store. So all I did yesterday was unpack the boxes, and it was like those Russian dolls. Like, I opened a box, there's another box, and another box, and another box. So I will put a picture in there. I put it on my Instagram stories, but I'll put a picture if I, again, can figure out how to do that. And then I finally got it set up. It was so easy to set up, which is one thing. Like, we have a Ninja, which is now like what my teenage boys are going to be using. They're not allowed to use the Vitamix. No, never. but that's one thing that the Ninja, like, you have to like get it exactly right. Like, you have to get the base into, or the blender cup exactly into the base right, and then you have to get the top exactly right, and it's just so fiddly. The Vitamix is just like plunk, plunk. Oh, what a relief it is, right? And so all I did was, they recommend that you wash it before you do anything else. And even that was exciting because it washes itself. Like, hallelujah. I hate cleaning. I hate dishes. So super excited about that. I will definitely be making things with that this week, and so I will give you an update about that when I come back. And I think that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, if you could hit like, if you could subscribe, if you could comment, if you could share it, any of those things are greatly appreciated. If you don't want to do any of them, that's okay too. I don't want anybody to feel pressured to do anything. And we will see you next week. I hope that you have just a wonderful and blessed day and week. Bye-bye.